Good morning to you all. I'm going to speak about the Atlantic and basically I would like to speak about the wider Atlantic. Normally we try to draw a line, make separations. This is an approach for a wider piece. I also put a youngster looking to the sea because if we look to the Atlantic, there are 4 continents with that more or less 460 million of youngsters as such waiting for opportunities. And this is blue growth that we have to think about. And the most of the presentation I'm going to do, I'm not going to go to be more specific on a type of projects, but I'd like to raise the attention for capacity, for future capabilities. And if we are addressing now, how are we looking to a wider Atlantic, what are the more strategic tools that perhaps in Portugal we may start think about to associate. Is not also a vision just from the strategic level. We need to think about the operational capacity and how can we have the forum joining industry sector and the public sector to align their efforts through those strategic objectives. But first of all, we are speaking about, from an European point of view, we are speaking about integrated maritime policy. Since 2007, with the Blue Book on integrated maritime policy, it has been decided that its implementation will be through maritime basins. And those are the basins, and thank you for Joäo. I'm using your maps because they give a right idea about the dimension of what we are speaking about. But in fact, implementation of the integrated maritime policy in Europe is implemented through 6 major basins, and the Atlantic basin is in fact a huge one, and is wider. And we have an action plan, which is the implementation of the European Union maritime strategy for the Atlantic area. It has an action plan, and their strategic objectives are also aligned to the European Union vision for 2020. The reduction of the carbon footprint, the implementation of the ecosystem approach, the establishment of effective and coordinated responses for threats and emergencies, ensuring the sustainable management of marine resources, and of course, generating blue growth. I cannot forget about those young kids. And since the beginning, and I recall what Claude Vorer said yesterday, we looked for the implementation of such action plan, having in consideration the extension on the transatlantic ambition. So an extension east-west, an extension north-south. And curiously, irrespective of having an action plan of such strategy, it was much more easy to put the very high important people in the globe speaking about a research alliance than about an action for a strategy for the Atlantic. But in fact, the ambition, the vision, and they have the same vision, the same ambition, and they influence each other, at least from Portugal as a member state, and I think from an European perspective as well. So we, since the beginning, emphasized the fact that we have to address the wide Atlantic, and I'm very grateful to be here today, seeing that reality coming into practice. We need, again, to solve the problems of those youngsters. And the Atlantic is an ocean for those opportunities. Through the leveraging of this Atlantic Research Alliance, we can strengthen the development of an ocean that has unique characteristics. And we can have the knowledge for that achievement, and also we can become an international ocean governance model for the world. This is an opportunity for all of us. From the Portuguese perspective, we are part of that Europe element there. I don't care about the limits of the extension of the platform shelf here today, but in fact, we have a large responsibility more or less on the left side of that small rectangle in the north. So we are very much responsible, and we have to ensure those responsibilities in a cooperative way. So we have to look very actively And we have to be very proactive in this cooperation effort. There is a vast area with significant amount of natural resources, and of course we have to pursue a sustainable development approach on dealing with the ocean affairs. But there is also a mammal that borns on land, but through technological achievements, it crosses the sea, migrates in a havoc flux, so it goes east-west, east every day, so we cannot predict so easily, but in fact humans are part of this ecosystem. So it's not just natural science that we have to address, but these fluxes which we can simplify in corridors and hubs in the continents in order to allow this element of the ecosystem to live on it with its technology and knowledge. And this led us to define the focus areas of such strategy. Earth observation, including the poles, the deep sea, the logistics, and the advanced technologies in aerospace. How can we leverage those areas in order to promote sustainable development of the Atlantic Ocean? Then we have looked through the research centers in Portugal specifically dedicated to ocean affairs. Of course, they also deal with the environmental areas, environmental subjects, but this workforce is of about 700 PhDs. Around those, there are other elements that can cooperate. But there is also a very interesting area in which I think we have to start looking if we want to address this wider Atlantic perspective and emergent activities. The Institute of Oil and Gas in Portugal results from a partnership between Galp Energia, which is a major national oil and gas company in the sector, and the 6 major Portuguese universities, and is open to institutions of the Portuguese-speaking countries community. It has the purpose to develop research and training projects and qualified skills, as well as to contribute to develop knowledge and technology across Portuguese-speaking countries community applicable to the sector. Internationalization is also promoted through the partnership with the Heriot-Watt University for Advanced Masters. When we look to the Science Without Frontiers program, which is a program from the Federal Republic of Brazil, which aims to support the training and education of high-qualified human resources in high-ranked universities and institutions around the world. And to this regard, I have to say that the Portuguese offer on its capacity through the universities installed is consolidated and being also open to South American and African countries. Through this partnership, almost 3,600 fellowships have been or still are in those Portuguese institutions. It offers, expands from marine up to maritime domains. But we also have to look to the industry and where we can find more strategic partners to allow to deal with those emergent activities. The space, Earth observation, is something of our concern. And those are the companies that already have worked in South America to support either Earth observation services or equipment for the spacecrafts. But we also have to speak about technologies that can be adapted from the airspace to the deep sea. Portugal is not part of the Airbus consortia, so it doesn't produce a spring for any airframe that we, on the airplanes that we use to fly very frequently in Europe. But in fact, it produces high complex technological components of Embraer aircrafts, namely the recent military transport airplane. So those are activities that can be applied and oriented through a strategic vision to deal with emergent activities in the future. So if we want to definitely, if we want, and we definitely need to engage industry, then we need to identify potential win-wins and partnerships in order to leverage this capacity and to promote those future capabilities. But that is just, so to say, the output that we must envisage for the future. But we need to look around the world and about what is going on. And this is just an example. I don't want to be prescriptive. There are other initiatives ongoing, but from the Portuguese policy analysis, this is the kind of network that could be helpful to align industry efforts together with research efforts. The Oil and Gas International Observatory, the OIPG, is an international consortia oriented towards the sustainable development of the Atlantic and aimed to predict and evaluate in cooperation risks, opportunities, and emerging challenges with the effective contribution of industry, academics, regulators, decision makers, and other experts based on multi-institutional network and industry-science relationships. To this effort is taking the form of the new agenda, which is called Plus Atlantic, and including joint actions to foster training of human resources. And the different poles of the OIPG are responsible to establish their own agenda in close coordination and international cooperation efforts, thus ensuring coherence and establishing appropriate partnerships to facilitate the training of human resources, development of engineering and technology, and new products and services for the sustainable development of the Atlantic. The OIPG will give priority to identification and analysis of opportunities in the wide Atlantic involving South America and also specifically in countries of sub-Saharan African regions as well. And this international agenda is promoted to foster new innovation dynamics and technology-based products oriented towards a sustainable exploitation of the ocean, as I mentioned. Okay. The agenda includes a very specific strategic goal of technological and industrial development, encouraging qualified employment and investment in knowledge, engineering, and technology in the wider Atlantic. Attract and secure, and those are the attraction and of qualified human resources in the Atlantic, stimulating qualified employment in engineering and research and development. Also to attract and increase the public and private investments in research and development and promoting technological and industrial developments towards the sustainable exploitation of the Atlantic. Finally, to promote international cooperation between the extensive network of engineers and technology experts that they represent. So this agenda is ambitious, but is the possible one to align the industry with the demands of the emergent activities. Each individual pole is responsible for his own agenda, aligned, of course, with this umbrella of the strategic tools. This is the agenda for Portugal. And in more detail, this platform approach has been considered through 4 technological platforms derived from the in-depth study about current ocean technology-related markets and cross-matching between identified opportunities and challenges with current and prospective national technological competences. As you see, Earth observation that drives from small cost buoys up to the common information sharing environment, ocean subsea technologies, ocean surface technologies, and port technologies. Other national agendas are being designed either in Germany, Brazil, and Colombia, and in future also in Angola. And this is what I have to show you today. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm open to your questions. Thank you very much.